Nowadays, it's so easy to say, I love you or I love something, right? But how many of us truly understand the essence and the meaning of what it takes to love? In this story of Yusuf alayhi salam, you will find varying degrees of love being mentioned. At the very beginning, you will find the love between a father and son, and vice versa. You will find the love perhaps between certain siblings throughout the story. You will find the love that a complete stranger can, in fact, have for an individual. And that's exactly what happens here in the story of Yusuf, where after he's thrown into the well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just abandon him and leave him there. In fact, Allah finds a way out for Yusuf alayhi salam. How? Again, it was a bunch of strangers, a bunch of travelers that come. They went to fetch water from the well that Yusuf alayhi salam happened to be in. And as they're fetching the water, they find Yusuf alayhi salam there. Now, though Yusuf found a way out from the well, he now faced another challenge, which is these travelers that had come, this group, they now wanted to get rid of Yusuf by selling him on as a slave. So where did they end up traveling to? They end up traveling to the land of Egypt. Now, just to quickly pause and say here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always intended from the very beginning for Yusuf alayhi salam to end up in Egypt. That was always the plan. Okay, he didn't live in Egypt, he lived on outside of Egypt, but Allah wanted him to get there. Now you could ask, why didn't Allah perhaps just send one of his angels to knock on his door and to just take him and transport him nicely and comfortably to Egypt if he wanted to get him there, right? But remember, this isn't how life works. In life, we're not always going to have things the easy way through means of comfort and so on. Allah is going to test us. So therefore, the way that it happened to Yusuf alayhi salam was his family members betrayed him, they threw him into a well, and now a group of travelers are going to find him and they're going to sell him as a slave in the marketplace of Egypt. So what does Yusuf alayhi salam do at this point? What does he do at this point? So what happens is, in fact, he is sold as a slave in the marketplace, and the minister of Egypt is the one who ends up purchasing Yusuf. It's not just any ordinary random person here, right? The minister of Egypt himself, one of the most powerful men in this land, ends up purchasing Yusuf. And immediately he feels this, natural love and inclination towards Yusuf alayhi salam. And when he brings him to the palace that he lives in, he tells his household and his family members and the servants around, take good care of this one. There's something special about this one. Take good care of him. And that's where Yusuf alayhi salam now is going to be raised, in one of the palaces in Egypt. So Allah takes him from the bottom of the well to the palace in Egypt. Now, there's another type of love here that is now going to be mentioned. And it's not a good type of love. In fact, this love is quite obsessive in nature. This love is something that completely plagues and consumes your heart. It's a love that is driven by desires, right? Any emotion, if there is too much of it, if there is an imbalance, it's not a good thing. And particularly with love, when you become too attached and obsessed with something or someone, it's really not a good idea. So here we introduce the minister's wife, right? The wife of the minister. Think about it. She's a powerful woman. She's married to one of the most powerful men. She lives in a palace. The rest of the women in Egypt all desire to be in her position. But what does love do? Yusuf alayhi salam was a handsome man. We know that in some narrations it's mentioned that he was given half the world's beauty, was gifted to just this one man, right? So she becomes infatuated by Yusuf. She brings him into a room in the palace and she bolts and locks all the doors and she says, hey talak, she says, come to me. And she tries to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam. What was his response? Again, another test being thrown his way. Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, Ma'ad Allah. He says, I seek refuge in Allah. Allah is my protection. And one of the first things that he does is he runs towards the door. He tries to escape, right? He tries to get away from this place of fitna, of this place of extreme test for him. So to summarize, the minister himself finds his wife and Yusuf alayhi salam in this compromising position in the room. But one thing I wanted to highlight here was, yes, there was, a bad type of love being displayed in this story, which is this obsessive kind of love, or this love driven by desire. But the most powerful and the strongest type of love that was mentioned here was not love for a parent, not love for a stranger, not love for a family member, not love for, someone that you are attracted to, but it was Yusuf alayhi salam's love. His love for Allah, his love for his Lord and his Master, that is the strongest and most powerful type. We're at a point where he was alone. Nobody else was there in the room, right? He could have done anything and nobody would have found out about it. But he had this mindfulness and this consciousness of his Lord that no, my Allah is watching me. My Lord is ever watchful and he knows everything that I do, whether that's in public or whether that's hidden. So because I don't want to disappoint him, I don't want to let him down, therefore I am not going to put myself in this position or this situation. And that's when he escapes from that, and Allah found a way out for him. That's what you call true love, to put love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. If we put love for Allah first before any other person, again, there's nothing wrong with loving someone else, your spouse, your family members, your friends, whoever it may be. You can love them, but put your love for Allah first. When we place our love for Allah first before anything or anyone else, then everything we do will be for His sake. And when everything is for His sake, then He will bless us in those things. So we ask that Allah increases us in our love for Him, and we ask that Allah loves us in return. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed that episode and benefited from it. And if you did, I've got some great news, inshallah. So I've actually put together a book covering 40 life lessons from Surah Yusuf titled A Beautiful Patience. You can pre-order that now by heading over to launchgood.com/Surah Yusuf, and you can get hold of your copy right away anywhere in the world.